Did I take over a month to read each book? Yes. But did I have the time of my life while reading them? Also yes. Hello and welcome to Delightfully Random. Today we'll be talking about the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo, which is one of my absolute favorite series of all times. The books in this series are Six of Crows, followed by Crooked Kingdom, which I just finished reading and now I can't stop thinking about it. So Six of Crows is part of the larger Grishaverse, which also includes the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the King of Scars duology. However, this series reads very well as a standalone series too. It's got enough exposition and explanations of past events, if there are any references made to them at all. And so reading any of the original series isn't really a prerequisite to understanding what's happening here. I haven't read any of the original series and I understood this series just fine. However, if you are just beginning your foray into the Grishaverse and you haven't read any of these books at all, I would recommend reading the original Shadow and Bone series first before coming to Six of Crows. Only if to gain a better understanding of the world and the people and to just add to the richness of the world that you will get to explore more in this series. And yeah, while this series is, well, two separate books as you can see, I will be referring to it as a single narrative over the course of this video, just to make my life easier, and also because it fits together so seamlessly. Crooked Kingdom picks up almost exactly where Six of Crows leaves us. And yeah, some of the narrative elements that I will be talking about today are going to be plot, character, and theme. Also, there might be spoilers, so if you're worried about that kind of thing, you've been warned.
Scheming face, Inej murmured. Jasper nodded. Definitely.
Very simply, Six of Crows tells the story of a daring heist, and Crooked Kingdom tells of the aftermath of that heist. In more detail, Six of Crows follows, well, the crows, who I will talk about later, who have been tasked with breaking out a scientist from the fortress-like ice court in Fjerda. While the plot is not inherently innovative, it borrows quite a bit from the traditional heist story structure. The way it is executed is what makes it very unique. I absolutely love the way the chosen one and save the world tropes were intentionally sidestepped throughout the novel, because there is no chosen one per se, and each of these characters have a different reason to be a part of this heist team, but none of them includes saving the world or anything.
Our hopes rest with you, Mr. Brecker. If you fail, all the world will suffer for it. Oh, it's worse than that, Van Eck. If I fail, don't get paid.
I also really love the use of flashbacks to help explain character motivations and actions. I think it was a very innovative way of sticking to the show don't tell rule especially when it comes to character backstories, because this way we aren't getting pages upon pages of why a character is thinking and acting the way they are without advancing anywhere plot-wise. This way we're still immersed in the story, but we still understand where a character is coming from, and I thought that was really cool. Also, can we talk about that plot twist in the end? It was very surprising, but it wasn't wholly unexpected, if that makes sense. A lot of the times plot twists in stories are just thrown in there for the sake of having a plot twist, just for a shock factor, but they don't really make sense in narrative or in character. They're just there to be there, but the plot twist at the end of Six of Crows makes so much sense in narrative. I mean, it wasn't like we are told nothing about the sketchiness of the Merchant Council.
Welcome to the Hell Show, said Kaz. Pecker Rollins got the idea a few years back and pitched it to the right council member. The Merchant Council knows? Of course they know, Nina. There's money to be made here.
We just fall for the merchant's outward talk about honor and the deal is the deal, like most of the characters in the book. We're blinded to like their cunning and scheming nature, which is very much exposed in the second book. And talking of the second book, if I thought Six of Crows had a pretty standard plot, Crooked Kingdom left me guessing at the end of every chapter. The plot structure of this book is a lot looser than Six of Crows' plot structure. Crooked Kingdom's plot is filled with surprise plot twists, false victories, actual victories, and at times it becomes almost confusing just because of the sheer amount of things that are going on, but all of it makes sense as as the story keeps progressing. I almost feel as if this whirlwind plot structure almost mirrors the thought processes and state of minds of the protagonists who now find themselves in a city that has completely turned against them.
Has anyone noticed? This whole city is looking for us, mad at us, wants to kill us? So, said Kaz. Well, usually it's just half the city.
Finally, I absolutely loved the ending of this book, and by extension, the ending of the duology. Oftentimes, series end in a very unsatisfactory way. You can tell that sometimes the ending is rushed, or there are a lot of plot threads that are left unsolved. And worse still, it feels like a dead end. Like there is no possibility of anything happening after this ending. However, what Crooked Kingdom does is that it neatly ties up all the plot threads and it brings the character arcs to a good stopping point, but it doesn't bring them to like their end. There's still work to be done. There's still more character arcs to be had, if you will.
Kaz offered his gloved hand to Nina. Until then, Zenik. Count on it, Brecker. They shook.
And so when it ends, it doesn't feel like this is it. It's all over now. It feels very much like this is goodbye for now. This is the end of this particular adventure. Who knows how many more adventures there are to be had. And I think that's great.
A gambler, a convict, a wayward son, a lost Grisha, a Suli girl who had become a killer, a boy from the barrel who had become something worse.
Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom follow the shenanigans of Kaz, Jesper, Inej, Rylan, Nina, and Matthias. And aside from their individual character arcs, which are great by the way, Matthias's character arc is my absolute favorite character arc that I've ever read. What really stood out to me was their group dynamic. I absolutely loved their group dynamic. I love how the in-group tensions don't just go away when they have to work together against the big bad. They still exist, and they do sort of lessen as the story moves forward, but they don't completely go away. So it's almost like these are a group of people that were just thrown together. They don't get along very well, but they have to work together to survive. But they still don't get along very well. And I really, really love that dynamic. Also, the banter. The banter in this series is just chef's kiss. It cannot get better than this.
Matthias examined the posters. 100,000 Kruger? He shot a disbelieving glower at Kaz. You're hardly worth that. The hint of a smile tugged at Kaz's lips. As the market wills it. Tell me about it, said Jesper. They're only offering 30,000 for me.
These books are the definitive example of why Found Family is one of the best tropes out there. And no, I'm not going to change my mind. And one last thing I like to mention about character before I force myself to move on, lest I spend an entire day talking about this, is the diversity. This is easily one of the most diverse casts of protagonists I've ever come across. And what I particularly love about this aspect is how casual the representation is. Just like, yeah, different types of people exist. And that's something very new and fun, and I really think it should be done more often.
crows remember human faces. They remember the people who feed them, who are kind to them, and the people who wrong them too. They don't forget. They tell each other who to look after and who to watch out for.
Some of the themes that really stood out to me were those of identity, belonging, justice and vengeance, and an uneasy relationship with the past. These themes play a large role in the character arcs of each of these characters, and I found it very interesting to see how these big ideas meant different things to different characters and how much exactly they affected them. Of these themes, the one that I found the most interesting to read about was that of an uneasy relationship with the past. Well, all of these characters have had a pretty terrible past, to be honest, and each of them want to forget it, to distance themselves from it, to be rid of the specter of the past that looms over them. But really, they draw their sense of purpose from their past, and so they're also kind of irrevocably tied to their past in that way. And I found that that was a very interesting dynamic to explore, and it was very interesting to see how the different characters sort of navigated through this inner conflict. And yeah, that was all I had to say about the Six of Crows duology. Actually, that's a lie. I have a lot more to say, but I don't think you'd want to sit here listening to incoherent rambling. So I guess this is goodbye for now. Also, let me know what you thought about the Six of Crows duology, and stick around for more randomness every other Friday.